Twin Cities Adventures here with our Minnesota Honeybee playlist. Today's video, I'm going to show you what we're going to do after the honey extraction, after we did our first varroa mite treatment for fall, and this next video is how we're going to feed them and set up our boxes and get ready for the dearth. So this is our end of summer, fall setup. First, I'll show you a little diagram, and then we'll go out and we'll show you what we did in the backyard so you can see exactly what it looks like. Okay, first up, we have a closed bottom board, so no cold air drafts come in the fall and winter. And then we have a brood box, and within the first brood box, that consists of approximately 80% brood, and then a little bit of honey and a little bit of bee bread and pollen sprinkled all around. Okay, and our second brood box, that consists of 50 to 60% brood, and then a higher level of honey, bee bread, and pollen sprinkled around. Now, as you've seen in our previous videos, we have swapped and manipulated frames around, and we've removed more honey from the center and brought it up higher and put empty frames in the center as a cluster formation to trick the queen into laying more eggs in the center. That way, we just continue to provide an environment where the brood is based in the center so they can cluster for warmth in the fall and the winter. So as you do your inspections, feel free to remove any honey or pollen from the center, especially lower, bring it up higher, and bring all the brood frames, or if you have empty frames, you can put them in the center to trick the queen into laying more eggs. So we've done that with both of our hives, and it's been very successful. So that's where our main concentration of brood is: eggs, larvae, and capped brood in the center, primarily in the lower one. And then they have easy access to honey and pollen. A lot of pollen and bee bread are sprinkled within to provide extra protein for the winter. And then next is our third brood box. You can use a honey super, a medium super if you want to. We put a deep box for our third box because we have 5-month-long winters. Now, as you can see in our extraction video, we did extract the honey from this frame, this box, because we do have sprinkled honey in a bunch of the ones below it, and we have plenty of time left for them to make more honey here. We also have a lot of pollen and bee bread sprinkled in here that stayed there through the extraction process. So what we're going to do is let them build up the third brood box filled with honey, pollen, and bee bread, and that will carry them through the long winter. And it's just right above the main area of brood where they can cluster. All right, next in line, because we are towards the end of summer, near the dearth, we still have goldenrod in bloom right now. The first round is done, but the second round is still going well, and there's a lot of fall flowers out there. But we did put a open super on top of the third brood box, and we put in mite control. So we put our mite control in there with a super, so we had a lot of airflow because we don't want the strong smell to harm any of the productivity in the lower boxes, because we do not use queen excluders. We don't know where our queen's going to be rooting around. Usually she hangs out in the bottom or the middle, but if she does go up top and gets a whiff of our mite control formula, it could trigger her and make her stop laying eggs. So we don't want to do that. So we put extra airflow up in through this one here. And throughout the duration of our mite control, they'll just have more airflow. It just provides a happier environment in our beehive. That's what we feel. And now at the same time, what we did is we added another brood box with a feeder of sugar syrup, and it's 2-to-1 sugar syrup with Honey Bee Healthy. The bees are going up here and they're feeding, they're bringing it down here, and they're turning it into honey for winter storage. So they have to pass through this open cavity with mite control, and that's what they're going to be doing. Now, as soon as we're done with our mite control, we'll remove this middle box here, and we'll continue to have the feeder box up top here. Now, after about 3 weeks or so, when we're done with our mite control and we remove the medium super, then it will look like this. We'll have our closed bottom board, our first deep that's mostly brood, our second deep that's brood, honey, and bee bread, and then our third brood, which will be mostly honey, bee bread, and pollen, and then they'll bring the food down here and keep filling that out until it gets really cold right before winter. All right, Twin Cities Adventures, Minnesota Honeybee Playlist. Twin Cities Adventures. Today's video, I gotta do a bunch of things in the hive. So let me flip the camera around here and show you what we're gonna do in a second here. But basically, we have a brood box full of capped brood, baby brood, larvae, the works, a little bit of capped honey, bee bread, pollen. The third brood box there, that's like a deep super. So that's there for them for winter. We extracted most of the honey, but there's a lot of honey in the lower ones, so we're fine. The bees cleaned out the wet boxes. I put them back in there. They're repairing the wax comb. On top of that, mite treatment for the end of summer, beginning of fall. Take care of business before winter. Above that, we have just an air cavity top super, just to give it some air. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm actually gonna take these top 2 boxes off, switch them around. I got another deep box with windows so we can watch through the window, check on our bees. So then it's time to feed them. We have to feed because the dearth is coming very soon. The goldenrod is still blooming here in this part of the country. The first round of it, the major round of goldenrod, is done. The second round is still hanging pretty tight, but it's time to feed 2 to 1. So in the spring we fed 1 to 1 to feed the bees, and now we're gonna feed 2 to 1 because it'll be thicker, easier for them to fan down into honey, into that third brood box, so they can load up before winter. We got plenty of time for this. So first things first, I'm going to disassemble the hive, swap some things out, and I'll show you how I make 2 to 1 syrup in this video right here, right now. Before we go mix up our food, I'm gonna show you a sneak peek through the window. Here's a peek at the bees walking across our apiguard, and they can drag that around into the hive and rid our hive of varroa mites. All right, first things first. In the spring when we did 1 to 1 sugar syrup, we filled it halfway with really warm water, and then we filled it the second half of the way up with sugar, mixed it up, and added some Honey Bee Healthy. Now 2 to 1 is we're gonna add it 1/3 of the way up with really warm water, and then we're gonna add 1/3 of sugar, mix it, another 1/3 of sugar, mix it, that'll be 2 to 1 sugar, 2 water, mixture, and then we'll add Honey Bee Healthy on top of that. So let me add it up to 1/3 of the way full with hot water first. All right, that's about 14.5 inches tall. So 1/3 of that is about 5 inches tall. So 5 inches of water, and then we'll do some sugar. Then we have the original Honey Bee Healthy formula here. This is 16 fluid ounces. It's over half empty, so I'm just gonna add the rest of that in there. That should be good. You could go for anywhere from 1 to 2 cups. Mix that out, get all of it out. See, if you're gonna feed them, it says 4 to 8 tablespoons per gallon. So that's basically a pretty big range there. So that's basically 1 to 2 cups or so. For filling up a 5-gallon bucket, almost full. Don't fill it too high or it's gonna spill. All right, I just poured in another 1/3 of the sugar, so now we're at 2/3 full, so I'll mix that up. with a mixer on the bottom of the drill. Mix that up in nice hot water until it's all mixed up, and then fill it up with sugar again, and then mix it again. Okay, another third of sugar, so now it's pretty much almost full, so let that soak in and take your drill and mix that up, and then you'll have a nice thick 2-to-1 sugar to water and honeybee healthy mixture, and that will make it a lot easier for the bees to consume that and bring that in and make it into honey, and they won't have to fan their wings to dry it out before they cap it off as much. All right, my feeder buckets are full all the way to the top. I put the lids on. It's already oozing out of the holes on top. And now that consumed almost half of a 5-gallon bucket of 2-to-1 sugar syrup. All right, just another fun quick peek at something. After 1 week in the hive, the bees completely repaired all of the broken up honeycomb for the most part. And almost all repaired. And then they'll continue to fully build that out. Here's another one. Look at that, almost completely repaired. Busy little bees. And it's filled with bee bread and pollen also. They had little stashes surrounding the honey. All right, here is a sneak peek at what's going on now. So in each hive we have 2 deep boxes with mostly brood, a little bit of honey, a little bit of bee bread. The third box is for honey for winter. And there's a lot of bee bread in there also. So we're feeding them 2-to-1 sugar syrup on top of the top board. And then they'll fill up the third brood box for winter for them. And we do have a super just for a spacer for our apiguard varroa mite treatment. So here we have brood, bee bread. This will be all honey for them. Temporary super with our apiguard Thyme Oil treatment for varroa mites, round 1. I'll give them round 2. Once they're done with that, I'll take that super off completely and just feed them for the rest of the late summer and fall. And then as you can see, that's where they're gonna feed from. So we're gonna put a deep box over the top of this and a cover, just like the other side, and cover that up for now. All right, here's our finished setup, and that will be like this for about 3 to 4 weeks. Can't see it too well. Let's go to the other side. I got all the windows off over here. Let's check that out. So here it is from afar. And let's check out what we got going on here. Well, that frame's all bee bread there. Whatever they want to snack on. And then here's bee bread. These brood already hatched, so that's good. This is all repaired honeycomb from when we did honey extraction. There's the apiguard Thyme Oil treatment that they're going to check around the hive. The feeder is just above that. All right, I got the ratchet straps on top of the hives, and there's one more thing I want you to notice. Let's look at the corked and decorked holes in the entrance reducer. I'll flip the camera around right now and show you what I've got going on. All right, here is a view from the shade. It looks like some of the bees are wrestling around with some possible robbers from other hives. So what I'm going to do is I put the entrance reducer on both of the hives, and I put that on the large opening of the entrance reducer. And then I corked the bottom brood boxes on both of them. And then I kept the third brood box open. That way, there's some airflow going around there. The mornings are mid to upper 50s to lower 60s. And the latter part of the day is mid 70s up to 80 for the next 10 days. So I'll monitor this every day and make a decision accordingly. But if they have any robbing going on from other hives, they're looking to rob honey, bee bread, and pollen. So if you reduce your entrances now, that will give your bees a better chance at protecting their hives. So they don't have to have as many guards out. So once again, let's take a close look at this. And there's the large opening. The small opening would have been if I flipped it and put it there, but they're trying to get in there, which they don't know how. They're gonna have to do another waggle dance to learn how to get into the entrance reducer now, which is fine, as well as the corked holes. They're like, hey, where's our hole? Well, here's a hole for you. So I put this decorked because it's the honey super, so I want them to go in and out of there and through there and get thinking about filling that up. Okay, here's what it looks like when a robber comes and is trying to steal from another hive. All the guys on your team will wrestle them out and shoo them out. They're like, stop thief, stop thief. This is our honey box and get out of here. And then I would definitely put your 2-to-1 sugar syrup in the fridge, or at least bring it in the house this time of year, because you don't want to let that cook outside in the garage because it'll ferment. It's 2-to-1, it's really high in sugar content. If it gets to a high of like 80 or mid 80s this time of year in the garage, it could be even 90 degrees. It'll ferment and or mold or spoil, so don't do that. Clean it off, bring it in the house, or put it in the basement. I put mine in the fridge, so I mean, our bees are still getting the goldenrod and any other flowers that are still in the nectar flow out there. So I put the food out there, the sugar syrup out, like probably about exactly the right time, so they'll start eating it. But as soon as the nectar flow stops, they'll like hit that really hard, and I'll monitor it. And when it starts to look low, I'll take this out of the fridge, and then it'll warm up a little bit, and then I'll fill it up, and then same thing all over again. Just don't want to give them moldy or fermented syrup. Well, once again, thanks for watching Twin Cities Adventures. Out.